All right, now, we got to talk about what's going on in the schools. Somebody please tell me what's going on in the schools. I have no idea. I have two kids in school, a 10-year-old, excuse me, and a 13-year-old. So one's in middle school and going into high school soon, and the other one's in fifth grade, going into sixth grade. And so elementary, middle school. We all live in Vancouver, Washington. It's a pretty decent suburb, has good schools, but still, your kids don't want to tell you what's really going on at school. But let's just say there are a lot of cliques, like there have always been. Plenty of bullies, plenty of fights to go around, except for now we can interact online, therefore people can completely harass each other without even being face to face. But that's not for this topic. This topic is about the absurdity, really, that I'm trying to understand the fear of knowledge or the fear of information, which has led us to this kind of resistance to teaching certain courses, certain books. We all know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not against many of the ideas that parents have expressed their concerns about. Some of the shit that they're teaching at schools is absurd. Some of the books that they have in the library might be a little too racy for the schools. I have, as a parent with kids, I don't believe shit like that. Some of these books that I've seen in middle schools or even elementary school should be there. High school, that's a different story, but this isn't about books necessarily. This is about this kind of outrage that not just the kids are getting caught up in the middle of this bullshit outrage that the parents have and that politicians have about what they don't want in schools. Meanwhile, the kids are just confused more by the parents than anything they're actually probably encountering in school in a lot of cases. And I want to start with this example, which inspired me to talk about this. There's a Florida principal resigns after parents decry Michelangelo's David as poor, no, you know the word I'm looking for. I can't say the word or else the video will just be censored. It's unfortunate, but the P-ography, this is what supposedly parents were saying about Michelangelo, this David statue. Now, everyone knows the David statue, all right? It's a guy standing here like this with his hand to the side. Yeah, he's got his wang hanging out, okay? This is something that I grew up seeing and saying, oh, that's the human body. Even as an American, even though other countries don't take it so seriously. What's up, bird? What you doing? Sounds like somebody's trying to mate. It's about that time. Spring just started. Hopefully that's not bothering you in the background there. I kind of like it. It's like a serenade. Okay, so here's the statue, in case you're unaware. I'm sure you've all seen it, right? Now, I want to tell you, there was a time in the Middle Ages, I believe, somewhere, 1500s, 1600s, where they had this, the Catholic Church decided it was too racy. And so they had what they call, I guess it was the fig leaf controversy, the fig leaf conspiracy, if you will. And they put fig leaves over the genitals, right? So they started doing this to all different types of paintings and statues. Eventually, around, I think, the early 1900s, I think it was, it took a long time, they eventually finally said, okay, let's just leave this for what it is, And so I'm going to read this. Hold on a sec. All right. A Florida principal has resigned after students at a Christian charter school in Tallahassee, Florida, were shown the statue of the biblical figure by David by Michelangelo, prompting at least one parent to complain that the children had been exposed to P-ography, right? Hope Karasakia resigned Monday as principal of the Tallahassee School District after the classical school, after the campus's governing board told her to either step down or be fired over parental complaints that came in after 6th grade students were shown the 16th century sculpture, one of the Renaissance's most famous pieces of art. And I'm going to skip the next paragraph because it tries to make it political, and I'm not going to go there. It's pretty sad. So apparently it says their protocol is to notify parents by letter when students are shown potentially controversial classical artwork. However, as a result of miscommunications, the letter was not sent out to the 6th graders this year. And then it goes on to say that one parent felt her child should not be viewing those pieces and described being point blank upset, they told the outlet. So they go on to say it's a private, conservative Christian institution. But apparently it's also publicly funded, if I'm not mistaken. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But the school says the school aims to train the minds and improve the hearts of young people through a content-rich classical education in the liberal arts and sciences, with instruction in the principles of moral character and civic virtue. So when the guy who runs it was interviewed, he basically said, hey, we made a mistake. And then he said, well, with all the crap kids are being taught elsewhere, yada yada, and made it political. But no, I'm not going to read the rest of it because it doesn't matter. He added, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to read the rest because every single article, you can get the points, you can get the facts, and then you also get the, somebody's biased bullshit along with it. So, because I'm not buying in. It's a liberal slant, by the way, and I am a liberal, but I don't like media that's liberal slanted because I don't think it's fair to journalism at all. The integrity of journalism is dead. But that happened. A principal got fired for showing artwork, for showing probably pictures of Michelangelo, the statue of Michelangelo. And when I thought about this, I thought, are the kids, 6th graders, really going to be upset about it? I mean, it's not like he's got a big dick. Jeez. I mean, let's be honest. It's not, and that's a half joke, but, it reminds me of the South Park episode with Cartman where they put up pictures of how much the kids have grown the previous year, and Cartman thinks that they're how long their dicks are, so he starts this whole controversy to measure everybody's dick. The only thing I can imagine would be that, and that's just a complete joke, of course. The reality is that it's an overreaction by parents. It's not the kids. The kids are not upset. And if you want to know why kids are upset, it's because parents are being fucking children themselves. And I read that in one of the articles. It said something like parents should, maybe the parents are the ones that need to have their maturity level checked, worrying about shit like this. Like, there's a word for what they're doing now. It's called the Streisand Effect. Kids aren't stupid. If you're not familiar, Barbra Streisand, back in the 2000s sometime, there was a whole bunch of decay on the shoreline by her property, and she owned this huge mansion right on the beach down in California. And the people were taking aerial photos of the area, and somebody pointed out it was her house, because there was the land falling away in front. So she made this big thing and threatened, I think she threatened to sue, I'm not sure, but demanded they take the picture down of her house because it was an invasion of privacy. Before that, the picture only had something like a few thousand views, and by the time the whole thing was done, it had tens of millions of views. And it was forever dubbed the Streisand Effect. When you try to make something not a big deal, you want to hide it, it comes out in the open. So my thought is that every single book that a parent's pointing out in the library, that they're saying, we don't want kids to have this, those kids that want it are going to go find it on the internet because that's how it works. Or every single type of information, anything that you want to hide from kids. Believe me, that's what happened to me in school with drugs. I remember in middle school, they sent me to a drug treatment class because they didn't want me to start doing drugs. I learned so much about drugs in that class. The irony is just palpable because the next year I was like, all right, I met all these people in the class that, already knew about pot. It's just, I don't know what to do about the problems we have. We have a lot of issues in schools, but I don't think we can solve it through censorship. of any form. So I don't know what to do. Parents need to, I guess, step up and stand up for what they believe is right, and that's really all we can do. The kids deserve better than what we're giving them right now in the schools, I'll tell you that. But what do you think? You know, if you've got kids in school, you have a right to speak out too. You know, it's fucked up. I don't, you know, it's, there are definitely teachers who are telling kids to do, you know, like, let's just say talking about things in the classroom that they shouldn't. You'll see these media clips of them talking about their personal lives and their orientation, their gender, whatever. These are pretty rare, I'm sure. But the fact that it happens is like, what has happened to teachers? The whole idea of teaching is supposed to be teaching. You're there to teach my children. We're paying our tax dollars to the teachers for them to teach our children how to be people, how to operate in the world by learning math, reading, writing, arithmetic, and you know, basic arts, sciences, and yeah, you know, we pay a lot of you know, property tax for it, all of the people that live in the area, and to even have to, the fact that school boards have become these hot button topics, that was never like that in the past. Nobody went to a school board meeting. You know, they had to struggle to get people in there, but now everybody's ready to stand up, and I think it's warranted on some grounds, but also kind of overdone on others. There have been like parents screaming about things like CRT, which I'm sure you've all heard about. And I'll just put it this way. I kind of understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, understand that it's in the eye of the beholder to be determined as to what those letters even mean. Critical race theory. So you end up having to ask specifics. What does it mean? Like, what do you mean by this? And if a person says, well, you should have white guilt, fuck you. I don't buy into that. I don't do that game. But if it's just about educating kids on the history of different cultures, fine. There's nothing, you know. So I feel like we're failing to identify each other and ask each other what we really mean. It's something that I've become acutely aware of over the past like 2 years. And I'm really focused on that. Getting people to understand intention and listen to each other instead of assuming about each other, because that's what gets us in trouble. And you know, as the old saying, you know what assuming does? It makes an ass out of you and me. And never forget that when my boss told me that one. So, yeah. Strange life, right, my friends? That's my ramble for the moment, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye now.